Right, we are all set up for our next panel. And for this panel, I'd like to get my slides back and introduce our four amazing panelists. We're going to talk about, well, the title of the panel is WTF. We're going to talk about what the fragmentation. Obviously, as you've detected, there's a big theme here around how to deal with the cross-chain world and how we see a lot more things getting more and more complicated. And we're going to talk about the things that we can do to mitigate them, what kind of problems it raises, and how we kind of think about solving them. And the panelists here are four amazing people. We're going to bring on Sushmita, who is the engineering faculty lead of the University of New South Wales. Donna is the chief community officer of Sonar. Ida is the co-founder of Fluidity Money, and moderating this conversation with Priscilla, who is the founder of Spark Innovation. So please give all four of them a massive round of applause.
Yeah, it's quite interesting and funny that when we decided to choose the topic of fragmentation for today, we actually choose to fill a gap because no one was about to speak about fragmentation. And just listening to the other person, we realized that it's quite an interesting topic for anyone. So, yeah. What the fragmentation, WTH. So, why do we actually want to speak about blockchain fragmentation, and Ethereum fragmentation is actually a topic. It is because of silos. There's hundreds of layer ones, of layers twos, of bridges, securities around, and how do we fix it? Can we actually fix it? We decided to break down this conversation in 3 steps. So one, on the issue and impact. How actually fragmentation affects things. Who are impacted? What are impacted? 2, the fix. Is it temporary? Can we fix it? And 3, the exploration of the frontier. And we will be quite futuristic, and we will actually share some really good golden nuggets. But before we dig in, we are very lucky and fortunate to have a great panel today. So cryptographer, researcher, a wide breadth of knowledge and experience. And before we dig in, we will just have a round of presentation. So can you please tell me a bit more about yourself, one of your projects, how did you actually end up in the space?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh,
please,
okay. Right.
Ida, you can start.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ida. Today I sit here as the co-founder and the chief legal officer for Fluidity Money. Fluidity Money is essentially an incentives-based layer, a middle layer in the blockchain. You have heard so far that liquidity is an issue for tokens in the crypto world. So Fluidity, what it does is that it promotes liquidity. It incentivizes you to just move your asset wallet to wallet. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what we are building. We are going to launch our second project on that. So watch the space. It's called Superposition. And it's very exciting. I am also the in the founding team for VGG, which is the largest gaming guild in Southeast Asia, and also the co-founder for Reinvent DAO, which is basically a real asset project where we tokenize IP assets and basically create a yield on the debt from it. I'm also the president of Women in Blockchain Asia. And how do I ended up here? Really by chance, really. 5-6 years ago, I don't know anything about blockchain. I tried to go back into law after a year or a couple of years of taking time out to be with a young family. And I stumbled into blockchain. At that time, 6 years ago, blockchain was very open, very embracing, and they just welcome anyone. I'm one of them. I came into it not knowing anything. I fell in love with the space. I love the fact that because I was an M&A lawyer, I work for banks where everything is centralized, everything is hidden. The motivations, and I work for banks, the motivations of a lot of the financial sector is to basically to maintain the them and us. And one of the ways to do it is to close the transparency. Blockchain exposes it. Blockchain puts everything out there, and you can't actually hide it. I love the fact that you can enter in this space with as little as $50, $10, as opposed to in the traditional market, where you need to have a credit worthiness and you have to pass a ticket size. So, and I stayed on. I love the technology, I love the people, and I ended up building a few stuff here which I just shared. So really, that's how it is. So really glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Sushmita, and I'm the engineering lead for IFCyber, UNSW Institute for Cybersecurity. And for those of you who don't know about UNSW, it's a university, research and teaching university. And we are very big on tech. I'm also an academic in the School of Computer Science and Engineering. I'm a cryptography researcher. And naturally, the transition for me into blockchain was, very obvious, I would say. So what I do in general, I build cryptographic protocols and primitives. And one of the use cases is blockchains. So some of the things that I'm really interested in are building CK proofs, mostly on trying to improve the proof generation phase. I'm also interested into building more fundamental stuff like commitment schemes, which are, again, very important primitives for blockchains. In this space, I'm very much interested, and I work a lot nowadays on quantum safe cryptography, and I feel that's actually going to be one of the important things to go forward with. And I'm also very passionate about teaching and mentoring. I do have a group of students, and I also interact with a lot of our students at the university and encourage building in this space. That's from my side. Thanks.
Wow, that's an entry. My name's Donna. I am the founder of IsWise Blockchain Academy, where we onboard businesses into the ecosystem safely. Also co-founder of the DeFi Collective. We're a hub of VCs, builders, coals, traders, you name it. There are so many smart people in our guild. Much more smarter than me. So I get to ask all these dumb questions and they answer it for me. So, but also I'm here to represent Sonar, and Sonar is a decentralized Web3 iOS system. We're actually out there building the technologies to make DeFi easier. So onboarding people into the ecosystem without having to, have the stifle of the UI UX. So that's me.
Yes, thanks for this round. We are actually quite glad to be here today. And we love marketing, but also to show that there's a space for everyone, including for women actually having tech knowledge. So if you feel that you're in that situation, you're not alone and you're welcome in the space. So let's dig in. First question. Amazing panel. What do you see? What do you see being one of the main fragmentation problem? And as you are at it, you can also let us know how you actually see this issue being addressed. And we will start with Donna.
Thanks. So, liquidity fragmentation, okay, in this space, I see its primary forms, like there's two primary forms, and the first is single chain fragmentation. And what that is it occurs when liquidity is spread across multiple protocols within the same blockchain. Take Uniswap and PancakeSwap. So both are dominant protocols which accumulates a significant portion of the chain's liquidity, causing smaller protocols to struggle and to compete. Hence, this uneven distribution can impact the efficiency of the overall ecosystem in a single chain.
Yes, that's, yeah. So liquidity fragmentation. Sushmita, what is your take?
So we have been talking about fragmentation in the last session. And naturally, decentralization brings in fragmentation. So it's quite obvious. The type of fragmentation that I feel is quite interesting is to look into the tech side of things. Because there's so many protocols, so many algorithms, so many implementations available that they should be working together in some way, but they aren't. And I think it's a good and bad thing. Like, we have been talking about having modularity. At the same time, we are also having this fragmentation, which also improves, I think, in some way, having a diversity and also, encouraging competitiveness. But at the same time, it also brings in a lot of challenges when it comes to tech. And let me give a couple of examples. So if you think of, say, signatures, for example, and if you are aggregating signatures, and if you have to aggregate signatures, multiple types of signatures for something, it could be a big problem, right? And similarly, if you think of a number of chains that are operating as of now, how would these chains talk to one another? What would be the challenges that come in with these cross-chain communication? Think of a very simple example, and the previous talk we had this discussion around swaps. So atomic swaps, for example, if one of the chains have HTLC support, the other one does not, how would you do that in the first place? So these are some of the questions and challenges that fragmentation brings. And again, think of the talk earlier from today about audits, blockchain audits. And so if you have a number of security protocols, it also brings in questions around how to have product audits for each and everything. So fragmentation would, on one side, have that competitive spirit amongst us in the ecosystem. At the same time, it brings challenges around interoperability in the design, specification, technology, and so on. And another example that I would like to talk about, say, for example, to the tech audience here. So if you are looking into, say, ZK proofs and, say, for example, proofs that are ZK-friendly proofs. So what would be your choice? Is it Poseidon or maybe MIMC or something of that sort that you would like to have in your protocol? And then the question comes around, how do we build around this? How does the tech support goes on? How do we have all these things coming together and in one place? So there's fragmentation. We all understand there's the good things about fragmentation, but when, for those of us who are developing, it's also the question around what to choose, what not to choose, how to integrate different things together.
So for me, I always find it very funny because Without fragmentation and L1s, L2s, L3s, blockchain itself has always consistently trying to solve the trilemma issue, and we couldn't. So I always find it really odd and funny, because when Vitalik Buterin wrote about the creation of rollups, it was talking and solving one of the issues on blockchain, which was scalability and speed. So the idea was basically you rolled up, you execute, and you do the settlement, all this in a different layer, and then you spit it out back to the L1 layer. And therefore, by doing that, you reduce congestion and reduce cost. That was the idea. But by in so doing, it splits. That's how it started. It splits the thing. And from there, we have this conversation where we are now. We saw, even before this panel, they were talking about the issues of fragmentation because of the split. Out from there, modular, monolith, L1 building on L2 building on L3. All these things they have been trying, but each and every one of them pose the same problem. You solve one, scalability, you cannot solve the other one, speed. You know, it goes back to the underlying problem of blockchain. So for me, there's a lot to pick on to answer your question. Because my projects largely, we build dApps. I don't build blockchain, okay? We build dApps that sits on a blockchain, which is largely automated by smart contract. So that is one of the major things, because when you build a smart contract that sits on a particular blockchain, it doesn't speak to the other. It has a language that's different. Then how do you integrate it, and in order to basically make it more cross-chain, to make it more versatile in that sense? Why is it important? Because let's face it here, majority of us who build dApps and build all these things is to make is to actually, on the technology side, solve a problem, but at the same time, at the heart of it is the token. The token basically powers these things. So if your token lives and only evolves in one ecosystem without moving to the other, well, you're in trouble. Same with exchanges. If you push your token and list it on one exchange and it doesn't exit out to go to another exchange, you're in problem. Composability is needed, movement is needed, hence liquidity that we're facing today. So where are we now with all these problems, particularly in this area that I raised up? I have heard of cross-chain smart contracts. I'm not sure how many of you heard of it, CCIP? Can I just see how many? Oh, you know better than me then, okay? So I have heard of it, and everything is, I'm not a tech person, I've just heard of it. I've heard that they're trying to solve it basically on the point, on the dApp layer part, which I just explained just now, which is basically a smart contract that it is composable and essentially can talk to multiple chains. I will not sit here and say that I have seen it, okay? Maybe they are, but I've just, I know that in this space that we're always innovating, and we are trying to make it better. I don't know, and I'm not confident at this stage to sit here and say that we have solved it with one use case and ta-ra, that's there, it works. So yeah, there's a lot of things to think about. So I would say that for those who are here, who are sitting on and building a project, okay? One of the reasons why you're building a project is that all projects need to be financed. Let's face it, okay? You need financing, you need all these things. VCs come and put money into you because they need your token to be launched. It is just a matter of fact. You need for it to be launched. And even on that aspect, as I explained, your token needs to be able to move from one chain to another chain, move from one exchange to another exchange. It needs to be able to come in, it needs to be able to exit out. As far as I know today, there's only a few exchanges that allows it to be withdrawn at this pool. Binance is one of them. Majority of the exchanges do not have that, except for decentralized exchanges. So it's something that we have to keep building on, improving, and we'll see how the future holds.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking about innovation and the new things, the new shiny things that actually are on the table, I know that Sushmita has some pet projects she's really interested in. We try, and we said it at the beginning, we don't want to be too technical and too deep. But I would love to ask each of you to give us just one idea on something you have in mind for the future of fragmentation.
Wow. One idea, like I'm thinking of what's trending in 2024, and I think the universal gateway is definitely something that I like to see happen more, like one entry point, one exit point, and how we do that in the tech stack. Like focusing on sharding on layer ones, to improve that scalability, as well as, fast finality in terms of, the validity transaction, so the speed. But there are quite a few more, but that's my 1 + 2.
Yeah, and that's a good one. Better UX, better UI, unified type of experience and a good getaway. What about you, Sushmita?
So is the question, we are doing, how do we tackle around this fragmentation, or is it like we bring in more fragmentation into the ecosystem? So honestly, I feel that fragmentation to some extent is kind of an unavoidable problem in a blockchain space, because there's so many projects, so many selling points that we all have, and it improves the diversity in that ecosystem, which makes us more competitive. And I don't feel that we should somehow try to prevent the fragmentation completely. It will exist. And the other reason it's going to exist, and it's because different regulations are in place. So think about it that different geographies have different requirements when these not only on the tech side of things but also the financial side of things. So I don't see an exact solution to where we could actually stop fragmentation, but I would think taking into account the different projects, protocols, the technologies, there could be some sort of I'm not too sure whether there should be some standards that we should come about with in just for example with other type of technology that happens. But at this point, I think that our ecosystem is it's a kind of a healthy thing for the ecosystem. But maybe I'll talk about one thing that's going to bring in more fragmentation into it, and that is because of the quantum safe technologies. So we now have a lot going in this space. Most of the things that we see around us are not quantum safe. And it is going to, we'll see more fragmentation with chains which are supporting quantum safe versus those who are not supporting quantum safe technologies. And very simple, for example, a very nice example is that we do have Ethereum, having this proposal of Verkle trees, which has KGZ commitments, which I love. I mean, I love KGZ commitments, but the quantum safe version, I would love to see a quantum safe version. And one of the projects that I am involved in is with the quantum safe, building quantum safe technologies and protocols that could be integrated in the blockchain technology. And going forward, how do we integrate these protocols and primitives into existing chains would be something I would be very interested to look at, and that would need an extra amount of work. So, I've been here since morning, and this is something that was not being touched by someone, so I felt I would also bring into the room. Think of it as a next interesting project that you can think of. There's already a lot going in the ecosystem, but I would say we have still to do a lot in this space.
Thanks, Sushmita.
That's I don't know how I'm going to compete with that, but anyway. I love about humans. Basically, we can talk about blockchain, technology, and everything like that, but behind it, there is a human being that does all these things. And we're all humans. And what I love about the space is the innovation that comes out from it. I'm in DeFi. And out from this space, all these problems we just mentioned to you, fragmentation and working in silos and all these challenges, out from all these things, it gave birth to a new ecosystem. Out from the ecosystem, it gave birth to new opportunities. Out from the new opportunities, it gave birth to new services, new solutions. For example, if you think about it, as we innovate and how to try to move a token to another token, we're not there yet. But as we continuously innovate, it gave birth to what is known as custody. Someone's got to hold all these assets and custodies it before it being pushed to another chain. That is the new opportunity. And that is the new services that came out from this. Out from custodies and all these things, it gave birth to another service, another solution, which is known as aggregation of tokens. Because if you think about it, I'm like a money lender. I take money exchanger. I take a lot of currencies for everyone. I house it, everything like that. It sits in my treasury for some time. I might as well use it, and I can aggregate it into multiple chains and yield from it. And that's the thing that came out from this. So did all these things occur the day when we all sat down and started to build? I don't think so. I think when we built it, we wanted to solve it. But out from the humans, people are beautiful because this is our mind. We are creative. We then saw that, hey, there's something we can do about this. There is a solutions that we can build from this. There is a service that we can actually pump up from here. And all these things are now, you are seeing that is coming up. So, and that's what I think that it is going on. But to actually challenge the space to have it more unified. Why is it important? Because our liquidity is low. Why is our liquidity is low? Not many people play in crypto, for goodness sake. Let's admit that, okay? The people who plays in crypto, plays in blockchain, plays in tokens are the same people whom you see today, yesterday, and probably tomorrow again, okay? They're the same people. So if you start splitting it, segregating it, isolating it, building little protocols, you're actually making it worse. So you need to unify it. That is why it's important. You need to unify it. And more importantly is that the average Joe, okay, only likes to do 2 clicks and he gets crypto. He doesn't like to connect to a wallet, go into a platform, and then go into another UI in order to transfer the token, go to a platform to know how to swap it, and things like that. They don't get it. You need to create something that is easy for them to move. It's not just the UI and UX that is easy to be improved, but basically the infrastructure basically needs it. Why is that is so important? Because if you want to grow liquidity issue, right? If you want to grow crypto, you got to make it easy.
Yeah.
And you got to unify that. And then these are the two areas that we are all watching this year that is going to bust this. One is gaming, because gaming is a language, it's a universal language. Add a token into it, add digital assets into it. How is it going to move?
Yeah.
Watch that space. Sorry.
And it's quite profound if you really hear it, because we all actually fight for decentralization, and it's exactly what we said at the beginning about silos. We all want to fight for decentralization because it's so important for us. But I would like to maybe, or we would like, because it's what we discussed just now, leave you with that question. Does it actually work? Is decentralization working? Yeah, and that's it for us. Thank you so much. Thank you, great panel.